Alright, here I got a video. Um, I've never really seen the police genuinely standing up for the people as strongly as I see in this video. I mean, this guy really seems like he's trying to do right by the people, trying to keep his department and moving in a righteous direction. And he got the receipts to back it up. And I can respect that, right? But on the other end, I view it as he's trying to fight to save this system. And I just don't see that as a fight we can win. Now, I definitely believe what he is doing is necessary in this time, in this day and age. Somebody need to be standing up and holding injustice accountable, regardless of if it's the police doing it or if it's the citizens doing it. But in the long term scheme of things, once this guy is out of office, I mean, just a matter of time before that precinct falls back in line. And so it paints that picture of creating change for the better. But when the people that are running the system don't want that to happen, it's just not going to happen. It don't matter how many people within that it doesn't matter how many people try to rebel within the system. Until you're willing to destroy the system and rebuild, it's just not going to change, because that system is not built on serving the people. The police departments are nothing but they are the muscle gangsters send to collect their money. That's pretty much what they are. Just like in the schools, the teachers and the principals, they're nothing but drug dealers. They serving these drugs to these kids, claiming that it's all a hustle, trying to make money. They don't care nothing about these kids. For the most part, the public schools, because they all operate on that same system, trying to push these drugs to kids that don't really have no disabilities. Those drugs are not going to help those kids. Definitely ain't going to do nothing good for them in the long term. Even in the court system, they're all just squeezing people for money. It ain't really about no justice. None of this system gives a damn about the people. It's not built for the people. It's simply just squeezing people and draining people. That's all it's doing. The health system, just a bunch of drug dealers in there. Legalized drug dealers. School system, legalized drug dealers. Police department, legalized bullies. Military, legalized bullies. Because rarely are they involved in anything righteous. I don't see a bunch of police standing out, speaking up for injustice against the community when they do protest. I see them on the other side, a lot of which waiting on the opportunity to hurt somebody. But what I had to say isn't really necessarily about all that, right? I wanted to piggyback off of my last video where I was speaking on how America is pretty much a hustle for immigrants. It's all about organized expansion for everybody in the world except for black people, because black people have been psychologically broken for so long. They done lost their sense of identity with each other. And so I'm trying to raise awareness of that, right? One thing the corrupt leadership of this country has done very well is maintain their foundation while disrupting the foundations of others so that they can stay in power. Just like those illegal immigrants are out there protesting, trying to maintain their foundation within this country, because they don't really care about this country. Their footing in this country helps empower their country. It's all about organized expansion. And that's why I say we need to break back down into smaller communities and restructure ourselves, reorganize ourselves. Communities of no more than 100 people each. And of course, it also depends on the land. I mean, the more independence your land has, the more independence from others that your community have, the less likely you are able to be manipulated or controlled in some type of way. And one mistake that we did in the past, and it wasn't necessarily an intentional mistake. I mean, it was only, we didn't have the technology for a lot of those smaller communities back in the past to really make a name for themselves out in the open so they won't be destroyed in the dark. Because a lot of black communities that tried to establish something positive and long-term beneficial to the community was destroyed by racism. And the reason that is because they didn't have a global spotlight. right? It was easy to wipe somebody out that most don't even know are there. Their connections was poor. Nobody really knew about them outside of them. And so they was vulnerable to all types of possible attacks. So when we break down into these communities, organized expansion is important. You don't want to hide. You want your community to be known. You want to make a name for your community. Whether it be you're known for producing some of the best athletes, some of the smartest intellectuals, whatever it is y'all focus on, some of the best entertainment. You want to make a name for yourself as a community, but you also want to work with others and communicate, stay in communication. This is the proper way to expand. And because our foundation has been destroyed, this is what we must do in order to rebuild it. Because black people have no identity in America. We disconnected from Africa. We can't necessarily help Africa because we have no foundation of our own within this country. It's like the Mexicans. See, they came over here, but they still have ties to their homeland to go back to send wealth to. That's their backup plan. In the meantime, they over here extracting wealth and resources to help build up their position in their homeland. But Americans they didn't necessarily, they don't have those ties to their homeland like that. Yeah, everybody talking about Pan-Africanism, and that's definitely the direction we should be moving in. But until we get ourselves together, until we actually established a foundation here in America, we're no good to the Pan-African movement. Same thing with decent white people, right? Them going back and forth with the good people and with the ones that are clearly bad and stuff like that. That's them disrupting each other's foundation. Out.
I want to see what time it is.
Go look at your tablet. I'm busy. But yeah, there's them trying to disrupt each other's foundation and make them weaker so that the other side will be on top. But one thing the corrupted side of the white community has done is weaponize black people against the world. Because one thing most other races would not do, most of them wanted to separate from black people. But the main ones responsible for harming black people, wanted to weaponize them as well. So they brought them in to be the slaves, to generate wealth for them, which is what propelled them above the rest, because that's one thing none of the others was really doing in as large of a scale as they was doing it. And so in order for decent white people to regain control, black people have to separate and establish their own foundation and stop being used by the very people that are trying to destroy them. Because they playing the long-term game. They know that they can't necessarily rid the world of black people, but they know that they can continue to disrupt their ability to establish a solid foundation for them to build off of, keeping them dependent on their system. And so this officer is fighting a necessary fight, but it's not something that can be maintained. Because he's in way over his head, right? They're not going to allow him to control their system. They're going to play by their rules so that they don't look bad. But either they're going to find a way to get rid of him, or they're just going to wait until his time in that office is up to. It's not going to be much of a change, right? What he's doing is not going to be a problem for them, because in the long term, they know that they'll still have control. Right now, what he's doing makes them look good, if anything, because the world can see that they can potentially try and change things without disruption from the corruption. So they'll allow him to do stuff like this until things die down and things will go back the way they were. The chances that the next sheriff that takes over fighting to maintain the same principles this guy is fighting to fight is very slim. Very, very, very slim. I mean, just look, this is the only time I've really heard of a sheriff standing up like this throughout my entire life. And from what I can tell, he's the only one doing it right now. That's not to take credit away from those who do have righteous intent. Because he's probably not the only one that want to do right? But this the only one I've heard. They got to be letting themselves be known. They got to put themselves out there to the world. You know what I'm saying? This type of stuff need to be seen. And like, you got people talking about they donate to certain causes, righteous causes, and don't want nobody to know about it, so because they don't want people to think that they doing it for the clout. No. Do it so people do it, and let people see you do it, so that you'll be an inspiration to others. You'll be an inspiration of giving back to your community. Show that you care. Now, how you giving back is very important, because a lot of these places you donate to ain't really doing nothing but hustling. They ain't really trying to help nobody for real. They just painting a picture. I remember I had to go to a shelter with my daughter, and all because I wasn't in there trying to kiss they butt. They was cutting me off of certain resources that they would give others. Like they helped me, they were supposed to help me get an apartment, which didn't go through. I ended up having to get it on my own. And then one of the members within that, what's the name, told me, hey, we can help you get some furniture if you need. And so when I called to get that furniture, another member, the lady who specifically didn't like me because I wasn't trying to kiss her butt, denied me the privilege of getting that assistance, even though somebody had just told me that I could get it. And so this is the type of stuff that you deal with when operating within a system that is no good for the people. You have a lot of people in positions where they're supposed to be trying to help people. They don't have the mindset to really understand the people that they're trying to help, to even want to really help them, right? They don't have a healthy mindset to really because listen, I came in there as a single father. Ended up in that situation because I was trying to protect my daughter from abuse from the people we was around. I had to cut those people off. And as a result, we ended up homeless. And so they offered to help. They told me that I would need to have a job within a week. I think it was within 2 weeks, in order for them to continue paying for the hotel room that they had put me in. I was meeting all their needs, and I told them I'm already hired with Uber. I just have to get a vehicle. And I was planning on getting a vehicle once I get my credit card in the mail. I had been telling them that whole time, but for some reason, they didn't want to believe me. Right? And so come that final day on Friday, when I told them I would have the vehicle to start working, they did not pay for the hotel. So me and my daughter ended up having to sleep in that vehicle. Luckily, I had got that vehicle, because if I didn't get that vehicle, we would have to sleep on the streets in Houston. It was hot, because we were living in Houston at that time. It was hot, humid, it was rainy. We would have had to sleep out there on that street just because they assumed I was lying about what I was saying, even though I had the receipt showing. And so, luckily, I got that vehicle and we was able to sleep in that vehicle, but it was still a horrible experience because I now had that vehicle and I couldn't work to pay for it, and it was the weekend, so all of them are not even in office at this point. They all at home. On top of that, it was a holiday weekend. So we had to spend that whole weekend sleeping in a vehicle, exposed to the weather, which ended up getting us sick. And then when they finally came back to office, when I was in the process of trying to get us into another program, they all of a sudden called my phone saying, "Oh, we're sorry. I see that there was a miscommunication or something like that, and all this nonsense. And now all of a sudden they can help me again." But me and my child is sick. I have to take her to the hospital. I can't work. So that's another few that I almost lost the car right when I got it, right? Because I couldn't work and pay for it. And even after that, they were still giving me a hard time simply because I was not, because my mindset was like, look, I'm here because I'm raising this child by myself and I'm unable to work. I'm unable to do the work I normally do. If I did not have a child, I would not need to be here. And so y'all help should be about helping her, not me. So why are you looking to me to be on my knees and beg for your help type of thing? It shouldn't be about me at all. It should be about y'all doing what's right for her, because she is a child in a situation where she needs help. And her father is doing the best he can to get her that help. Because y'all ain't have me in that system because y'all was trying to help me. If I did not have that child, I would not be there. I would have had to sleep out on the streets. But I've had the experiences with these so-called programs that's supposed to be trying to help people, and I'm unconvinced that they really out there trying to help people. That's the moral of the story. It's not too much within this system that is about the people, period. And so on the long-term perspective, we need to be trying to reclaim our independence, rebuild a foundation, a solid foundation that we can build off of, which is start your own independent communities, reclaim your independence, build a name for yourself, and go from there. I'm gonna play a little bit of this. Y'all can find this on YouTube. Type that title in. Should put it right up.
I'm pissed off because justice, Dr. King said it best, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And damn it if we're going to play that game here in Broward County. Before I get into the details and the specific nature of why we're here, I just want to identify the folks who are participating in this press conference as we're standing here unified about our concerns related to this incident. Two are with me today as attorneys representing our three deputies. One is Eric Schwarzreich, Jeremy Kroll, and Michael Gottlieb. The reason for this unified stance is related to what we deem and identify as a miscarriage of justice, in that three of our law enforcement deputies, while in the performance of their duties in compliance with our rules and regulations, have been charged with aggravated battery. It's appalling to witness this take place here in this community. And before I elaborate and show extended videos to further be accountable and transparent to this community, I'm going to remind you of what I've said for 6 consecutive years as your two-time duly elected sheriff of this county. And that is, when I know, you will know. And that everyone in this organization will be held accountable. And everyone in this community will be held to the same standard. I have demonstrated that consistently for 6 years, to the extent of which I've terminated 141 officers under my command. There hasn't been a sheriff in this state or in this country that has demonstrated that level of aggressive nature of holding law enforcement and public safety professionals responsible. And of those 141 plus cases, 98 times, 98, we have submitted over to the state attorney recommending prosecution. And I'm gonna run down this one year after the next. This starts in my first year in 2019. 14 cases was recommended. Of those 14, 7 were declined by the state attorney's office. In 2020, 16 cases were submitted. 12 were declined by the state attorney's office. In 2021, 14 cases were submitted and 10 of them were declined by the state attorney's office. 2022, 17, 13 declined. 2023, 22 submitted, 15 declined. 2024, 13 submitted, 8 declined. And as of yet in 2025, we submitted 2 and already 50% of them are declined. This agency has been the toughest against corruption than in the history of this entire county. And we do it right here. Our internal affairs are remarkable. Our leadership core, our commanders, we don't pinch pennies and we don't dodge our responsibility. And we don't care what last name is associated to the people that are responsible for wrongdoings in this community. Numerous times we've submitted cases where individuals who happen to have the popular names of Thurston were ignored. An individual deputy we had here who was a terror in Pompano Beach, abusing young black men time over and time over again, until we had him dead to rights, where he was terminated from this organization, and we recommended that he would be prosecuted, and those charges were dismissed, only for him to take a job in our school system and then batter and abuse another child. So I will not accept the nature of these charges against these women. The video is crystal clear that they had demonstrated only the level of force necessary to get this individual back in compliance. Our standard is reasonable, necessary, in proportion to the threat of which we face. That is not just BSO standard, that is every walk and talk law enforcement official in the United States, from the federal down to the counties. It's the same standard. And how do we get to a position where, of all these cases that we've submitted and recommended, that deputies, officers, firefighters, or anyone else in this agency be arrested and prosecuted, and this becomes the selected 3? This is most certainly a miscarriage of justice and exhibits signs and symptoms of public corruption in itself. Favors for friends. And so I start to ask the question, what is the nexus amongst the individuals that is selectively charged and those who are not? Is it their last name? Is it their power play or influence in this community? I am topped out and sick and tired of seeing public corruption and favor for friends in government, from the federal level all the way down to here in Broward County. And it's going to come to an end. We're going to continue to investigate and examine the nature of this case, despite where we are headed in terms of our internal outcome, because we will not live in a community where there's some justice for individuals and then there's not justice for some. It's appalling. I hate to come off in such a high-level temperament at the beginning of this press conference. But folks, these women were handcuffed, arrested, and their reputations have been destroyed. On average, they're hitting almost 20 years apiece. Sergeant Polk have done 22 years in this organization. 22, outstanding, never an issue on any of these deputies in terms of their conduct in the performance of maintaining some of the worst people in society. Every year, this jail processes over 44,000 inmates. And these women who are now being persecuted are the ones that have been stood and standing at the front line, protecting and serving this community and doing it at the highest level of professionalism. Not once have we had an issue of excessive force with either or any of the 3 of these employees. And so that leads me to, yes, standing here unified with their defense attorneys, because this is righteous. There's been times where myself and these men and these attorneys, we've been at war in a difference of opinion about actions I've taken in this community or for this community within this agency. But today we stand together because this is right. And we cannot allow a Pandora's box of law enforcement officials in this county being arrested and prosecuted when there's no probable cause, but only indicators that there's a potential that this is being done for somebody else as a favor. And I'm going to highlight so many different elements of concern with this investigation thus far. To begin with, the nature of the arrest. My deputy, Deputy Guzman, conducted a DUI investigation of this inmate, of this suspect, and arrested her with justified probable cause. And the assistant state attorney kicks the case under the premise that he was not a drug recognition expert, that there may be some contributing factor because the inmate was on her menstrual cycle. Folks, I'm not making this stuff up. This is what I've read, this is what we've reviewed, this is what we've analyzed. Now, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been a college professor for 18. I have taught every single course in the criminal justice field to include constitutional law and criminal law. And I've yet to see a defense called the menstrual cycle. So I'm asking the questions. Why is the state going out of its way for this particular case? My deputy conducted 650 DUI investigations, all of which, until now, were submitted and filed and charged by the state attorney, except this case. Why is that? There's a ripple effect of such decisions that will impact now Deputy Guzman and his ability to continue to be a DUI expert, which he is, and conduct these type of investigations with a flawless track record, which increases the probability of making sure these individuals don't get away with this to do it a second time, a third time, or until they kill somebody in a car accident. They dismissed the charge. And by the way, no, she wasn't under the influence of alcohol from what we've been able to identify, but the toxicology report came back and showed that she was amped up on amphetamines. But he's not an expert. It's absurd. I'm gonna move on and get into this video in a second, and we're gonna show you certain segments of this video, but I'll preface with the overview. This woman came in agitated and cranked up on drugs, and that's no different than many of which my deputies in that jail encounter. That's not new to us, that's not a threat to others, that's not foreign to them. But she came in and she had resistance from second after second, agitated after the next. And you strike a deputy in the line of duty, and now the expectation that the state attorney is pushing out is that of this. If you get struck in the line of duty, if the suspect get injured, then we're not going to prosecute cases, and we're going to dismiss those charges. What are you saying to the 5,000 law enforcement officers that are serving this community? And what message are you sending to the suspects that we are going to have to fight and defend our lives with or against? This is too big to allow it to happen, folks. And that's why I'm here. What message are we sending? You don't get a free pass to strike, injure, hurt, or harm any of my goddamn deputies in this agency. None of them. We will respond as professionals. We will respond with the necessary force in proportion to the threat, and it will be reasonable. And if it's not, then I will terminate them. But that message is absolutely inappropriate. They dropped the battery charges that were filed after the suspect placed her hands, struck, scratched, kicked, and bit one of my deputies to the level of force that it not only penetrated her skin, but it fractured her bones. And that charge was dismissed. And they're going to move forward and charge the deputies, who you will see in a moment, who not only responded effectively, gained custody, but then provided the immediate care for her with zero conflict throughout that process. There was no tripping of the suspect and bouncing the suspect off the walls. They walked her down the hallway, she received the medical care that she needed, and then they brought water into her cell and monitored her to make sure that she was okay. Despite the fact that she had already injured them, despite the fact that she was high up on drugs, they still did what was right. And if that type of conduct is suitable for aggravated battery charges upon an officer, I can tell you right now that I have been guilty of such conduct for 20 years of my law enforcement career. For 20 years. And every officer up here is guilty. And every officer patrolling your streets right now is guilty. We better start figuring out what do we want for this community and ensure that justice has only but one standard. I don't care what your name is. I don't care if it's the Caputos, the Thurstons, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, the Trumps, or the goddamn Obamas. It doesn't matter when you're in Broward County. Everyone's going to be held to the same standard. Now, I'm going to show this video and allow it to play out. We're going to start with what you already seen. After repeated orders and instructions to vacate the